What's up guys, Justin here with TheSketchUpEssentials.com. So in today's video, we're going to check out a new extension from Curic that allows you to quickly filter and change things based on tags, materials, and more. Let's go ahead and just jump into it. All right, so Curic Deep Properties is a tool that basically allows you within your model to do things like scanning the materials, selecting them, swapping them out, as well as making adjustments to things like tag names, toggling things about those tags, other things like that. It's actually a really interesting tool for doing different things to your models in a more advanced way. Note this is a paid extension. It comes in just under $7. So let's jump over into SketchUp and take a look at the way this works. And so we're going to use an example model from the 3D warehouse. It's the Model Circe 193 by SD. So if you want to download this and follow along, you definitely can. And so basically, when you install Curic Deep Properties, it's going to come with two options in here. And so you've got two options for different things that you can do in here. You can scan materials and you can scan tags. So let's scan the materials first. And so what happens is if you click on the button right here to scan the materials, it's going to pop up a window like this. And notice how nothing has happened so far. You have to actually select something in your model. So in this case, I'm going to select this model right here. And so once I select this model, what I can do is I can click on the option to scan materials. And when it does that, it's going to go through this object and it's going to find all of the different materials and it's going to list them in here. So basically you can see all of the materials in here, but where this gets really powerful is you can also use this to select those different materials or filter them or make changes to them. So like for example, notice how if I click on this color 06, what it does is it comes in here and it selects everything that has that color 06 associated with it. So I could do the same thing with my wood materials in here. So notice how as I click across here, even though these are in a group, this is still coming through and it's selecting those faces like this. And so one of the interesting things about this is notice how when you open this up, you can see different things about the materials. So for example, you can see how many groups have the material applied to them, how many components, and how many edges and faces. And so notice how I can scroll down here and I can select all of those different things, right? So if I select the faces, notice how the faces with this material associated with them are being selected in your model. And so this gets really interesting because what you can do is you can take different objects like this. So say that I want all of these to have this Boys 191 material. Notice what I can do is I can come in here, I can select all of these different materials like this, and then notice how there's an option to adjust materials. And so when I do that, what I can do is I can click on adjust materials and then I can assign a different material that's in my model to all of these objects. So if I click down right here and I basically want to assign all of them to this Boys 191 material, if I click on this, notice how there's an option to apply the new material. So when I do that, notice what that did is everywhere in this model, it replaced those materials with this Boys 191 material. And so now what I want to do is I want to select this and I can also come in here and I can adjust this. So I can find anything that has the word boys in it, so B-O-I-S, and I can replace it with wood. So if I do this, click on rename, notice what that did is that renamed these two materials in here to wood 25 and wood 191. But I can do the same thing with like corrugated metal. And so what I can do is I can come in here and I can select these 5 materials. I can click on the option to adjust and I can either replace or add text. So let's say, for example, that I wanted to add something to these. So I'm just going to add a prefix, which is going to go before, and I'm just going to call them JG dash. And so what that's going to do is for each one of those materials, notice how now these are named JG dash metal corrugated material like this. So you can use this to adjust multiple different materials at one time. And so another place where this is really powerful is you could also use this to select all of the faces in a model that have a material associated with them like this. So notice how when I click on this corrugated metal, I can go through and I can select all of the faces. They have this corrugated metal, and you can't really see them from right here, but they are in the model. But what I can do is I can select all of those faces, and when I select the faces, it's selecting them in a way where I can see the amount of area of those materials that's in my model. And so for when I go through and I quantify things out of a model, having additional selection tools in here and ways to make these adjustments is actually really valuable to me. And so you can come in here with that picker tool and select individual things. I don't think I'll be using that one all that much, but it is definitely interesting. But that's some of the tools that you can use for materials. Now let's take a look at the options for tags. And so the tags, to me, I think is probably going to be pretty valuable as well. So I need to select my model, but then if I click on scan tags, what this is going to do is this is going to go through here and it's going to find different objects with these tags. And so, like, for example, one of the things that it can be really frustrating inside of SketchUp is you don't want your individual faces to have tags associated with them, right? You usually want to group your objects and then put tags based on that. Well, what you can do is notice how right now this shows me that, like, this one, for example, has both edges, faces, and groups in here that have those tags associated with them, right? You can see this like this. Well, I can take the faces that are in here. Notice how this selects those faces right here. So those faces actually all have this tag associated with them as well, which is not what I want. And so what I could do is I could come in here and I could pick all of those faces, right? Just by clicking on the select option right here. And I could put all those faces on the untagged tag. And then if I update this, notice how now this tag no longer has faces associated with it, it just has groups. So you can use this in order to quickly remove tags from faces and just put them on untagged in here. So you also have the option to come in here, you can toggle these on and off like this, but you can also select the things that are on the tag just by clicking on this. Or you can come in here and you can click on, you can pick out all the groups, all the components, other things like that. And you can actually filter these as well. So you can filter things by type. So you can filter this so that it only shows edges, for example. You could filter this so that it only shows faces. And so if you filter this so that it only shows faces right here, what this is doing is this is showing you basically entities that have tags applied to them. Well, you could come in here and notice how, because this is filtered, I could just select all of these and I could do an adjust tags and I could put them all on the untagged layer right here, and I can just apply that. Notice how now my groups all still have the tags associated with them, right? So I can still toggle these on and off, but those individual faces and edges, you can use this in order to remove those really quickly, just like this. So you could assign all of those to untagged, and you could apply that right here. Notice how it hasn't changed the actual groups themselves, it's just changed the edges and faces. And so you can rename tags. So, like, for example, this one is more for tall walls, right? So instead of having this name in here, I could just rename this tag tall walls like this. So you can rename that way. You can also take these and put them in groups. So if I do an adjust tags right here and say that I wanted to create a group for whatever these are, right? So roof and high walls, I could select these and I could move them to a new folder like this. And when I do that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna update this. But notice what this did is this took those and it put them inside of a tag folder over here on the right hand side. And you can also come in here and you can rename multiple tags at once, other things like that. So overall, this actually gives you some pretty powerful filtering options within SketchUp. All right, so that's where I'm in this video. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you could see yourself using this tool. I can think of a number of applications where I would use this, but I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys.